Hey everyone, Egwin again from Scope of Life. Today finally we start with the first stretching tutorial. It's basic beginner's version. We're talking about the iliopsoas muscle, the hip flexor muscle. Iliopsoas muscle, it's a muscle that's comprised out of two parts. The iliacus part, which comes from the inside of your pelvis, runs on the front of your hip. And we have the second part, the psoas muscle. The psoas muscle actually comes from your spinal column, runs down inside of your body, and also joins the iliacus muscle with one tendon where it attaches the minor trochanter on the front of the hip joints. Main function is actually to bend the leg to the body, or if my legs are in a stable position, then the muscle is capable of actually bending my spine to the front. So it can pull the spine to the front when the thighs are the fixed part of the movement. This is very important to know because the hip flexor, because of the anatomy of it, is actually a muscle that runs through a lot of different joints, not just the hip joints. It runs through the hip joints, but it also has an effect on the sacroiliac joints, which are the joints back here between your sacrum and your hip bones, and it also has an effect on the different joints of your spinal column. I'm going to run you through the movement first, then we're going to talk a little bit more about the whole thing. Now, as I mentioned in the introductional video about all the body positioning and stretching, what we're going to do is we want to find a position that's as healthy as possible without any troubles to different joints, to adjacent joints. The only thing we want to do is focus as much as possible on one muscle. Right now we want to focus on the hip flexor muscle. I'm going to go in the position right away. We have one foot placed on the mat in front. We have the upper body resting on the front foot comfortably. So whenever your upper body can fall down directly to the mat, then you have a misplacement of the front foot. You want to have it a little bit further in the middle of the mat so that your whole upper body actually rests comfortably on your front thigh. The rear leg is stretched out to the rear. You can do a couple of different ways here. You can either use it on a soft surface like here on the beach, just with your knee on the ground, or if this doesn't feel that nice, then just place a small towel or something like that here as well to protect your knee joint. Now in this position, your arms, they are only here to stabilize yourself left and right. They're not here to hold your body up. They're only here to make sure you don't fall over when you do the movement. In this position, make sure that your front leg is not too bent in your knee joint, because now you're putting a lot of pressure on the knee and you're already maxing out the movability in your ankle joint. We also don't want to have the lower leg in an angle that's bigger than 90 degrees in your thigh. And so we don't want to have the lower leg in an angle where it actually pushes to the front of the mat. So we want it a little bit underneath the knee joint so that we have the ability of sinking the knee to the front a little bit further. The arms are resting comfortably on the mat, just gently. In order to get in the stretch, what you want is to let your hip joint sink to the front diagonally, like so. Your arms, as I mentioned, are just stabilizing the movement. It starts raining here right now, so we'll see whether or not I can finish the tutorial. You want to just sink your hip joint diagonally to the front. Out here in front, that's where we want to feel the stretch. So at first, you're only stretching the part that's very close to your hip joint. That's the main thing. Only when going deeper into the stretch over time, using breathing and sinking deeper in the stretch, you'll be able to actually feel the psoas muscle which is inside. When I show it in front, but that's only because it's difficult for me to like push to the side all the internal organs and actually show you where it runs. It's deep in the body, it's connected to the spine back there, and that's exactly where we want to work on it. So in this position, from here, you just gently sink to the front. Make a couple of deep breaths, nothing fancy, no specific breathing technique. After some time, you might feel something in your front hip joint. That's okay, you can still go a little bit deeper by trying to relax your front hip joint and your front thigh a little bit as well. This will allow you to go into the stretch a little further and will also allow you to get out of the lower back area here a little bit, so it stretches the psoas muscle as soon as you get a little deeper. Gonna have to stop with the tutorial right now and protect my camera because we have raining season here right now and it's really starting to cool down. So see you later. So hello, this is me being back here just to finish up this tutorial. I was thinking of, well, just do the whole thing new, and on the other hand, why the hell? That's just how nature is, and we're trying to do something natural here as well, or to bring our body back to a more natural state. So why not also be quite natural and simple with the tutorial as well? Coming back to the tutorial, we've been in this position, one foot to the front, the arms are only resting comfortably. I just mentioned when we release the front, we can sink deeper into the position, also accessing the psoas, which is actually deeper inside and working on the area around your spine. To get out of this position, there's a couple of possibilities. Best way, from this point, just place your left arm to the right as well. Bring your right hip to the side and gently lower yourself down to the elbow and then just roll to your back. Whenever you're in this position, stretch out the legs, wiggle a little bit, and from there you can get up onto your mat and do the whole thing on the other side. Right foot out to the front, left foot is in the rear this time. Your upper body rests comfortably, completely on your right thigh. Your arms are only there to stabilize, and you let your left hip sink to the front diagonally like so. Once again, make sure of the position of your right foot. If the foot is too far out in the front, it will give you a pushing backwards trajectory and actually start to increase the pressure in the hip joints. When we have the foot in the correct position and we let ourselves sink to the front, then the front and the rear hip joint get pulled apart a little bit, thus reducing the pressure in the joint. And that's exactly what we want to have for this stretch. We're going to have a slight opening in the joint so that pressure is released and that we can access the muscles that we want to stretch. So in this position, let your hip once again sink to the front diagonally. Just take a couple of breaths, natural breaths. Whenever you feel a little tension arising in the front foot, the rear, in the thigh, or in the front hip joint, just release, relax. And then slowly start to come out of this position again. Walk your right arm this time to the left. Turn your body to the side, roll down to the elbow, and then completely on your back, wiggle a little bit and give yourself a little bit of time until your hip joints are equalized again. That's what we want to do. That's how we stretch this iliopsoas muscle on both sides. Always important to do it on both sides. And I'm going to go over more intricacies about how to stretch, what exactly to do with your mind in the next tutorials. Just giving you the basic posture so that you can experience and play with that a little bit out front. After that, when you're more experienced in the position, I'll give you more clues how to get deeper and even better into the stretch, using your mind, your consciousness, and using breathing techniques, actually even using your arms in order to put pressure on specific points on your muscles in order to release them a little better and still maintain this coordinational aspect. All right. Want to stay tuned for the next tutorial? I can tell you right now, the next tutorial is not going to be in the rain. Have a wonderful time. Make sure to subscribe and see you around soon.